Welcome to the Inner Blueprint Podcast. I'm Sean Foyer, the Universal Mindset Disruptor. With over 20 years of turning blueprints into thriving home improvement businesses, I've learned that the strongest foundations start in your mind. Whether you're building a business or your own success, we're here to reshape how you think and face daily life and always remind you to enjoy the ride. Well, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Inner Blueprint, the podcast all about thinking better thoughts so you, our listeners, can get better results. I'm your co-host, Sean Foyer, here today with the beautiful and radiant
Caitlin Foyer.
And what should we talk about today? Should we bring on a guest?
I am really excited to bring on a guest, actually.
All right, I am too. So today's guest on the Inner Blueprint embodies what it means to evolve through service, business, faith, and family. From cleaning job sites as a kid, growing up in a family business, for arcade money to becoming the U.S. Army military police officer. His journey spans continents, combat zones, and life-defining moments. After returning home, he stepped into the family business, eventually taking the reins and leading it through financial struggle into record-breaking growth. But the real transformation began when he encountered mindset work at a pivotal moment. Feeling lost and unsure how to lead, he took a leap, and everything changed. What followed was a deep shift, not only in profit, but in purpose. He learned to trust his team, lean into faith, and lead with gratitude. Alongside his wife, Debbie, and 4 amazing kids, he's created a ripple effect of love, legacy, and spiritual growth. Today, he's here to share how letting go of the past can create a better present and how being the kindest person in someone's day might just change their world. You're going to want to listen to this one. Let's welcome to the podcast our friend, our client, Kevin Bumstead. Welcome to the show.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's do this. Let's do this.
It's the energy I like to see.
Yeah.
How do you, I feel like I just, came through the entrance to a stadium and I'm about to, tip off, go for basketball, right?
Yes.
And let's go.
Yeah, we're filming here in Utah, and Kevin's got a picture behind him of a gentleman by the name of Michael Jordan in a moment when he broke a bunch of Utahns' hearts.
We can't blame Kevin. He's a Chicago boy. He should be their number one fan, right?
Hey, I would have rather been a Chicago fan that night than a Utah fan. That's for damn sure.
Most nights, let's be honest.
And I'll even acknowledge a little bit of a push off, right there. I'll acknowledge it. Okay.
Yeah, but no excuses, man. No excuses. Well, what do we want to talk about today? I mean, I know you've been on such a cool journey, and especially with mindset, which is what this is all about. So I don't know if you want to start back of just kind of early in life, growing up and, being around a family business from a very young age. Maybe start there.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a great point.
Okay.
Or a great starting point. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, let's dive in.
So like your intro said, right, started out on job sites when I was 12, just for extra like arcade money and stuff. And I really, my mom and dad put a really big sense of work ethic into me. If you work, you'll get rewarded. If you don't work, you won't get rewarded. And good or bad or indifferent, when you are raised into that, right? And then, going and getting a job, going into the military, going through the ranks pretty quickly in my 4 years in that, just more discipline and work ethic it is hard to actually come out of when you get older, to not necessarily, want to take it easy, but to grow, right?
Well,
right.
Well, when there's the saying, work smarter, not harder. That's hard to get out of, into working smarter when you're so programmed. And again, it's so interesting. We talk about paradigms and programs. This can be a negative, which you're going to share where it started to hold you back. But oh my gosh, I think today in this world with youth, we need more of that. Let's work hard, right? Because I think we've gone to we were both raised in a similar time period where I was taught the same thing, work hard.
Yep.
And today I feel like that's maybe not taught enough. So for you, that was really ingrained. But how did that get in the way, I guess?
Well, and I want to hit on that too, because it becomes part of our identity, right? Like I've always prided myself on being a hard worker. I can outwork anyone. Like I can outwork Sean. Like I am a hard worker. I am a get shit done person. But I now know through our work that holds me back too. So it's a double-edged sword. So yeah, hit on that, because Kevin, you also are one of the hardest workers I know. Like, you give Kevin a task, he's going to come up with multiple other tasks, and he's going to get them all done and make it look easy, because it's just who you are.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, right, it's a great aspect to be able to get things done, right? Like you just said, Caitlin, I'll challenge you to let's have our own little amazing race or Survivor Island, and let's see who wins, because that, I think we're both the same as far as that motivation goes, and to get the tasks done. Um, the so when the crap hits the fan, we can get it done.
Yep.
However, when the crap doesn't hit the fan, we're almost in our own ways to grow. I know it might come up eventually, but for 5 years, my company was stuck at a plateau. I mean, maybe up or down, literally only $100,000 either way.
Wow.
But it wasn't until our talk. I meant to look back to see how many years ago it was. Let's just say 3.5. Our talk, Sean, and me joining into the mindset, changing my mindset or adjusting my mindset, however you want to look at it, and trusting others. I can still work as hard as I have to, or as hard as I want to, on my tasks. But when I got out of the way and let other people and trusted other people to work on all of the tasks I was working on, my company doubled, right? So get out of your own way.
Well, and how long before working on your mind, your company doubled, had you been working hard? Had you had best practices, good business process? I mean, how long a period was that before our conversation? Was it decades?
Eight years.
Almost a decade of time. Working as hard as you could, right?
Yeah.
Implementing to the best of your ability the known processes you had at your access, and yet the results weren't changing.
Right. And, unfortunately, as most of us do, I'm 55 right now. And what most of us do for that 8 years is our families are the ones that suffer for that, right? Well, whether you're raising kids or whatever age, I can always say that I was there for my kids' games, for the dances. I even coached them. I was there, but I was never present at all.
Wow. That's a powerful awareness.
Well, let's dive on that for a minute, because what does that mean? You were there but not present. If you were there but you weren't there, where were you really? What were you thinking about? What was the focus on?
I was thinking about the fire at work that had to be addressed. I was thinking about tomorrow's sales that had to be sold so then we could keep on working, who to hire, the phone calls. There was, man, it might have been 6 years ago, right? My claim to fame, my fishing story is that on one Monday, I answered and talked to 110 people on a Monday because I was doing everything. And I went home and I partaked in some alcohol. I'm not a proponent of that, but I needed a good stiff drink at the end of that day.
That's a lot of people doing. That's a lot of energy to interact with in a day, and a lot of responsibility to throw on your shoulders.
Yeah, and that was a long, like I said, let's just say that was at least 6 years ago. And thankfully, I didn't have a kid to coach that day. I didn't have a kid to go watch something with. But I definitely was removed from my family when I got home that day. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I think those days come often for a lot of business owners, especially when stepping into a family business or taking over a family business, because you have this pressure, whether it's real or not, it feels so real of I have to make this happen, right? And I'm the only one that can do it, and I can do it best, and it's going to be better if I just do it instead of trying to trust other people to do it because they're going to let me down. And we do this even, with our own kids. And I've seen you, especially in the past, I'd say year. I don't know if it's joining Lunaris. I don't know if you've just gotten into a deeper level of your mindset, but we do this, like I did this with my kids. I can load a dishwasher better than anyone. I'm very strategic about it. And about 2 years ago, I let Hallie start doing it. And it got to the point where I was like, oh my gosh, she is doing it wrong. Like nothing's clean. And I would put the dishes away. Well, I finally had to go, you know what? I'm glad she's doing it. And now Harper's going to put them away. So I don't have to see that mess. And now that's all that they do. You know, I do this. We do this as parents on the littlest things. I like the fridge to look a certain way. And so I would always put away the groceries. And now I let Harper do it because I've trained her to do that. I've had to trust that. And so you've done that not just on a personal family level, but your family also works in your business. And I've seen you let go of the reins and trust that I've taught Luke, you know, for example, to do what I need him to do. And I've trusted him to do it. And I know that you have shared with me personal moments where you're like, I'm not doing any of it and it's growing. So talk on that for me, will you? Because it's really inspiring to show people like this is how you grow.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So Luke, and I'm gonna, pat him on the back. Luke's only 26, and he's my sales manager. He's our implementer for EOS, and he's mature beyond his years. So I should say that he has a much better beard than I do, because he needs that to actually not look 26. But once I gave him the reins through also training, putting in a different sales process with Charlie Gindal, which many people have mentioned on the podcast. He's been on your podcast, of course. Once we implemented that and gave the reins to Luke to run with that and implement that, we've had the record-setting months of sales. We've had record-setting years of sales, but also not just to pat him on the back. When I relinquished control of production to my production manager and completely removed myself from that, we also had, record-setting doubling year of production revenue, top line, and more importantly, bottom line too. So, it's funny. I even just said it the other day where, someone, I think my dad asked, right? Stan, my dad asked, he's like, well, why can't you come over and see me more? Sorry, I'm still working on that, right? The worst people that you still got to work on, or I'm sorry, not the worst people. The most people you got to work on in your mindset is the ones closest to you that you love the most and that love you the most, right? So I'm still there. I'm still working on that. But he said, well, so what do you do at work anyways? I'm like, well, I'm not needed necessarily, but and it's out of camera shot and I won't bring it in, but I have my whiteboard, I have my process mapping. So I worked 90% in the business totally day to day right now, and it might sound bad because it's not measurable. I can't tell you exactly what I do, but I know it helps everybody.
Well, it's stepping into that visionary role, right? You mentioned EOS, and that's a really hard spot for people, especially ones that have been trained since a young age to just be the worker, to be the one that makes everything happen, to go, all right, I need to physically kind of stop making this happen, and I need to, with my mind, with my thoughts, grow this business and be the visionary that allows the people in my business to have that vision and to implement it, and I don't have to be the one actually doing it all myself anymore.
Well,
yes, and I was just told last week that I had to stop being such a visionary.
but I think, and this is a good takeaway for listeners, because I know a lot, especially business owners, they're told to work on their business, not in their business.
Yes.
And yet subconsciously they work in the business. I mean, you describe in 100+ call day, that's working in the business, right? That's as much of you as you could put in the business. And today, your whiteboard, your visionary, you're strategizing, you're coaching, you're supporting people. That's working on your business. And that's, I think, where so many people want to get. And mindset's been key to that, hasn't it?
100%. We actually just had something today happen that was pretty, not a setback. I instantly told the person that I was having a meeting with, I'm like, hey, something, you need to do what you need to do. And this is an awesome opportunity for you and for the business. And then I did actually, it was such a pretty important thing in the business aspect that I had to call kind of an emergency leadership team meeting, which this person was part of. And I just said, let's just start out with, we have a great opportunity coming up in front of us. And, so it's just right rewording it, because, it went around the room and everyone's like, we're going to have to do some more. Correct. We're going to have to do some more. And isn't that awesome that we have to do some more? Because one, we're going to help out a fellow employee, a fellow leadership person, but also two is we could do all these extra steps now that we're all in the business to help improve the business while he's gone, while he stepped away for a little bit.
Well, and I love that because I didn't hear you call it a problem. It is a challenge, but I didn't even hear you call it a challenge. You called it an opportunity.
Yes.
So if you don't mind me interjecting again, so one
Yeah.
thing that my wife doesn't really like too much. So through mindset work is and through the Grateful Day, right, which has been mentioned many times. Uh, I do pray a lot now, and I start my prayer. My son actually gave me a prayer track of how to pray properly, if there is such a thing. But I start with gratitude. Uh, if you put us into our head a lot, Sean, throughout the years of daily gratitude and gratitudes. If you just start everything with gratitude, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for this. I'm so grateful for the day, right? You, as you said before, you can't have two different thoughts. You can't have a positive thought and a negative thought. You just can't do it. So if you're a faithful person or even not a faithful person, but every time I pray, I start with a laundry list of gratitudes. And I never pray about myself. I never pray for myself because when you get through all the gratitudes, there's nothing to pray for yourself for. So what I do is I'll say my gratitudes and then I'll pray for, say you need something, Sean, or you need something, Caitlin. I'll pray for you guys because I'm already grateful for what I have. So what do I need to pray for? Myself. That's what I mean.
I
Sorry, I rambled down there a little bit.
No, we can ramble on gratitude. I mean, I'm a big proponent of gratitude and daily gratitude, and it's when you really practice it. And listeners, if you haven't heard this before, look up Brother David's A Grateful Day. It's on YouTube, and it's the presence of you have drinkable water, you have a roof over your head, like the simple things, and that makes a challenge that much easier when you're diving into it. One thing maybe we can kind of rabbit hole a little bit, Kevin, is and I've had people that maybe wanted to work with us on mindset, but they knew they were going to change some beliefs and they were worried about their faith or their spirituality. Do you want to mind sharing with listeners kind of your journey? Because, when you started with the program versus today, you have a much different take on your faith and on spirit.
Yeah, 100%. So I was, my story is I was always a good dad, whether it was in the house, whether it was, my wife forcibly sometimes was the force behind our faith journey. Um, I would want to sleep in on Sunday, so forth and so on. So, that I was the stereotypical today's dad of being led to faith by their wife. Look it up. There's a whole bunch of stories. That's kind of how things go nowadays from a lot of family dynamics. So being in Inner Blueprint, being in the Linares, my mind was open. And even in our small group settings, I dove in really big, like, to, for lack of better terms, the woo-woo stuff, which, by the way, that's the first time I've said it probably since February. But let's just say the woo-woo stuff. The stuff that is so hard for your brain to grasp or imagine because it's not tangible, right? You have to believe. So if during the trek, I was finding ways to believe in myself. I am humble. I am a loving husband, which I had to work on. I am a loving father. I am a loving son. I am a great businessman. That was really hard for me. I am a smart businessman. That was really hard for me. And then all of a sudden, the Holy Spirit was working through my son one day, and he put out in a group chat about going to a church meeting, which is Christ Renews his parish for Catholics. And I always would go to anything my kids had to support my kids, right? I would be there. So I went to that weekend and really, like it is in the verbiage is Christ renewed his faith, my faith in God. And that was truly the Holy Spirit. And it was literally almost 3/4 of the way through the first day that I was just like, there's no way I could have done this 12 months ago, 16 months ago, 18 months ago, because I wouldn't have been open to it. I wouldn't have been accepting to it, if that makes sense. Sorry, I rambled on there a little bit. I hope that sort
No,
of answered your question.
no, so, and again, we don't talk about religion in mindset work at all, but I have had multiple people that their faith and their spirit and their belief in a higher power gets stronger. And that's been the case for you, right? Is instead of being
Uh,
led,
100%.
you're now leading yourself there.
Yeah, and I've embraced the traditional is the wrong word, but the Bible version of being the father of my house.
Mm.
And then I've even taken it to the next step of, you could be the father of your business, as in a better leader in your business. So, in spirit, in the Bible, it talks about being the father a lot, right? And not
Yeah.
just the father of, God, but to be the father spiritual person of people, um, not to be God, of course, but just to be that leading voice. And
Oh.
I've actually embraced that in the last few weeks. It took me a while. I'm not shy, but that's the reason I start with I am humble. Um,
Yeah.
to be okay with being that voice in groups and in settings, if the opportunity arises. By all means, I'm not a Bible thumper. In our Linares group. I hope you don't mind me saying this, but we have a Catholic. I think we have a Baptist. We definitely have a couple of Protestants. I don't know if they're Lutherans or not, and we have a couple of Judaism,
Yes.
Jewish people,
Yeah.
Yes.
right? And we have great conversations, right? Um, so,
I,
Inner Blueprint and my Linares group, our Linares group, is just awesome when it comes to faith and mind.
Well, and
yeah.
I love that you say that. And you said, oh, it's hard to believe in these things because they're not tangible, but they show up in tangible ways. You've really leaned into, we are created in our creator's image, whether that's God or whatever you believe in. For you, it's God. You are created in God's image. And to see you really dive into that and become the best version of yourself has taken not just a deep dive in mindset work, but an acceptance of I am created in God's image. And so I
Yeah,
get to be the best version of myself because I was created in perfection. And that is showing up very, very tangibly, as we can see in your self image. Kevin, since you started working with us, I've said this before, you don't look like the same person. Your energy is so
yep.
changed. I mean, Sean and I will see, whenever we see a picture of you, we're like, man, look at this guy. Like, look at Kevin. Like, we love it. We love to see you're aging in reverse. You are younger today than you were 3.5 years ago. You look better. You emulate this or radiate this energy that is, it's contagious. It
Yeah,
truly
thank you.
it truly is.
You know, um, Excuse me while I wipe my nose. Sorry. um, yeah, to comment on that, I believe I believe it's an energy. I truly do, and that is definitely predominant in inner blueprint work, mindset work. If you feel and believe in yourself, you are going to come off differently. I am the same weight I was. In fact, I might even be a little bit heavier. My fat percentage is probably a little higher, but Caitlin, I agree with you. When you send me a text back saying, "Hey, Kevin, you look great," thank you. I do, and I receive that.
Well, and I love that. And, going back to the spirit and religion, I mean, we've worked now with Inner Blueprint with almost every faith. You mentioned quite a few in your small group. And every single one of those, their belief has gotten stronger. But we go back, I mean, the word faith, actually, Napoleon Hill uses it in Think and Grow Rich, the book that Inner Blueprint is really based on the principles. And you just described faith in yourself. You talk about the business. You got really strong faith and belief that it was going to get better, that the results you'd worked so hard for so many years. And I think it's just a really cool tie-in that as your faith and strength and belief in your heavenly Father has gotten stronger, so has your faith and belief in yourself, in your business, in your relationships, in health and wellness. And with that faith and belief, you've seen it all get better, right?
Yeah, 100%. Part of the adage, or it might be part of the adage of Inner Blueprint, if not, our good buddy, friend Carlos brought it in, is, you know, what's the worst that could happen?
Mm.
And actually, right, if you write, even if you have to write it all down, what's the worst that could happen? And then take it to the opposite, and just, I hate to say it, but screw it, just go for it. Just do
Yeah.
it.
I mean, that's module 2 of our program, right? That's a
Right.
writing exercise. Write down the worst that could happen or the worst that's going on, and then rewrite it in the exact opposite. And then your thoughts become things. So what you focus on will come true. And it's so cool. I want to hit on that self-image again because I can't just give kudos to you. I have to give kudos to your wife too. Debbie was recently at LeadCon and I was getting so many photos of her with all these
Hmm.
things. And I think this every time I see Debbie too. I'm like, damn, who is this woman? And you and Debbie are both doing this work together. I mean, alone on your own levels and then
Yep.
together as a couple. And so if you'll hit on that, because you guys really are, I feel like this renewed like love and appreciation for each other, this self-confidence, not in just yourselves, but in each other is really inspiring for me to see. And it's what, my part of the business, what I really like to do, Sean's really focused on the men's group. I focus really heavily on the women's group and in the partnership and in the couples that come because, I always say when you do the work on your own, it's very powerful. But when you do it with your partner, it's like adding gasoline to the fire and you can just make this inferno happen. So if you'll hit on that of how you've seen the changes in Debbie and what doing the work together has done for you guys, not just in your business, because I know there's so much of that and I'd like you to hit on that, but in your personal relationship, just with each other in your partnership.
Yeah. So back to the beginning when it all started, right? I'll get right to the answer about Debbie. I was actually driving to Banff, Canada, to on an excursion to get away. And that's when Sean and I had the first phone call about me joining in, and I was outside of Calgary, I believe. And the probably within the first couple minutes, I said, I can't do this without Debbie doing it because, personal and business, what good is it, like you just said, is if I do it alone? And then, you know, let's reverse it. Let's say Debbie was doing it and I wasn't. And she's doing it and she just comes home and tries to talk to me about some stuff and she just keeps on hitting a brick wall. It does no good. So it took, I mean, Sean and I talked in October, and I don't think we officially signed up till middle of December because I literally came home and told and mentioned to her that that I wouldn't do it without her. And then I had to step back and let her decide at her own pace and then have conversations with Sean and possibly you too at her own pace. So now to get to your answer, um, it's great. As I alluded to before, the the people you change, unfortunately, or at least myself, let me see myself, the people I change the slowest to are the people you love or the people that have always been there throughout the years for you to punching bags the wrong word. There's been no punching involved, but
No physical punching. We get it.
right, verbal. Thank you. My dad and Debbie have been the hardest ones for me to still transition through, if that makes sense, to have the open, honest conversations. And like you said, she's actually doing the program too, and we're still here a little bit. That being said, is it has opened also through our church. We're on day four of 7 first grade dates. So it's like 30 something other couples in there, whether you're married or not or engaged. And it's also communication, right? So it was kind of funny. The first episode or the first date was a conflict resolution that a lot of people that have gone through sales training or business coaching have been taught conflict resolution. And so when we got done with the video and we had to conflict resolute something, something for her and something for me, I was like, yeah, I already know this because it's literally conflict resolution. But anyways, I kind of went off on a tangent there. It's been great doing it with her. We have definitely grown closer, both mind being open and also faith. When I have become more faithful in our church and in our life, uh, her beaming, I think that actually might be the best energy she's getting from all of this is actually seeing what it's changing in me because
Oh,
it affects her.
one, and I love that too because anytime we do work with a lot of couples, but Kevin, you can't control Deb. It's
Nope.
up to you to make the change, and you're doing the work on you, making changes. She's separately doing the work on her, and the result
Yeah.
is a better relationship in the business, a better relationship personally, and
And a better
that's the goal.
relationship as parents. And that can be difficult because how long have you and Debbie been together?
30 years and 2 months.
And so
I had to
within
look at the
your,
date.
that's a long time. That's longer than some of our listeners have been on this earth. And
Yes.
so that you guys have a lot of paradigms in your relationship, some that aren't serving you and some that are. And so
Yeah.
it can be more of a challenge for people that have been together. And, we say this work is great whether you've been together a day, whether you're hoping to be together, or whether you've been together 30 plus years. You guys are at that 30 plus years where you are like, am I okay to kind of reinvent myself, to step into this best version of myself? Is that going to be received well? Can we do this together? So if, how has that shown up for you guys in your relationship and then in your business and also with your children? Because I've seen a difference in your children too, honestly. And so I know that it all starts at the top and then it trickles down. Definitely.
Yeah. So with Debbie and I'll kind of touch on that first again, is so doing the work, doing inner blueprint is work, changing your mindset is work. Uh, we're slightly competitive, and I I embrace things quicker, sooner than she did. So in the beginning, it was almost a detriment. I mean, for like 6 to 9 months, it was almost a detriment because she felt she was losing a competition, and and maybe in the beginning too, I was doing too much of, oh well, do you remember what we learned here? Do you remember what we learned here? Right. So in the beginning, it was tough, because like I said, I think we're 3 years in, and it was tough. So there was a learning curve to reprogramming your brain, your mind, which was hard. Um, but now we're at a really good moment, like I said, with that for easily the last 18 months. And then as far as the kids go, yes. So I'll reference Luke real quick, and even my daughter Maya. They're pretty faithful, young people, and to see me evolve in my mind and then my faith has really enlightened their lives. And then even my other children, I'll have conversations now with them on a different level because I'm present, right? I'm not just there. It's not just like, oh hey, how you doing? On to the next thing, right? Because I'm doing I'm checking a box as a dad, checking in with my kids. Which to be honest, I still don't do as well as I should. But when I do it, I am present and not just there. I hope that kind of answered you had a couple of questions in there. So
Well, it did, and in the business too. I mean, you're empowering yourself to be your best version, which in return, and Debbie's empowering herself to be her best version. But in return, that's giving permission for everybody in your life, and especially family members, because you have family members that work in your business. You're giving them permission to not reinvent themselves, but also kind of reinvent themselves as you're reinventing yourself to be the best version, right?
yeah, 100%. So take for instance, I brought on a brand ambassador. That's the big thing now, the big catchphrase in our industry. And Liz is my son's girlfriend. Hopefully this trends well over the years.
Yes, absolutely.
So she's my brand ambassador. And last week when we were at Lead Gen conference, I was talking to a mutual fellow contractor of ours, a friend of ours. And he goes, oh, so what's going on? And I kind of went down. I'm like, oh, here's AI, here's this. And oh, have you seen the brand ambassadors? Have you talked about them? And he goes, no, what is that? I said, look around the room at every 20 something year old girl in here is the brand ambassador social media person. Oh, and he's like, tell me about that. I said, well, you got to give her an iPhone, you got to give her a microphone, and you do whatever they tell you to do.
You're doing really good at that, actually. You're doing really good at that. If people aren't following Stans on TikTok, you should be. I'll just say that much.
Yeah, I still do some AI videos every once in a while, and I get yelled at every time I do those. They are fake. They're 100% fake. I don't try to be real.
Yeah.
Stan's Roofing and Siding is not on the moon,
I thought they
and
were. I'm glad you just clarified because I thought you went to the moon.
and we haven't been around since the time of the dinosaurs. But to your point, yes, from Liz to Luke to everyone that works for me, I'm not here to micromanage you. I hired you. We have a great hiring process now, through DISC profiles, through personality profiles, I should say, and and we actually have a good interview where it's a PowerPoint presentation, and we let them know our core values, and you know we want you to be part of the team. You will have to want to be part of the team, and once you're part of the team, okay, let's go. How can I help you? What what can I help you with today? That's just it.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So good. So good. And it really is great. And so you've taken us on this journey about where you started and then how things have changed since you started working with us and working on your mindset and really being intentional with your thoughts and your presence. And so I love that. And I can't wait to see where you're going and how this is deeply impacting you, because I think a big part of your story that is inspiring to others. I think a lot of business people kind of get scared to let family members work for them. Even if they were the ones working for family members in the first place, it's hard to trust our children to step into that and to carry on that legacy, right? Because, I mean, even in Brian Gottlieb's book, Beyond the Hammer, the first generation starts it, the second builds it, and the third generation kills it, right?
Yeah.
How are you, like, where's your mindset around allowing this next generation to take it to the next level, not kill it?
Well, I'm going to kind of start with a dynamic here. I think too is that you have to be mindful of the employees and how they feel towards your kids. I hate to say it like that, but you know, you could come in and force your kid down someone's throat, and they could be like, "Oh, that's the owner's kid. That's the owner's kid. They could do no wrong." Yeah, I, I think you just have to be extremely careful with that. So something we've done, um, I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag a little bit here, but so Luke is actually intertwined himself in every department's EOS meeting. So over the last month, maybe a month and a half, and so now people are actually going to him with questions instead of me. I'll stop there with saying things but you get 1 + 1 does equal 2 eventually in that scenario. And through Linares, well, I'll let a little bit of Canada back. So through Linares, we know that I have a bigger picture for Infinite Balm Inc. Stan's Roofing and Siding is part of Infinite Balm Inc. And so that means I can't be in the day-to-day running of Infinite Balm Inc. I need other people to run that. So I need to start setting the seeds for who's going to do that, whether it's going to be Luke or whether I'm going to bring someone in from the outside. I need to test those waters now. So to answer your question, because I do have Luke, we have Debbie, I have my son's girlfriend, and even my daughter Maya, who's 18. She's working part-time now, and that could turn into more. So that's 4 people, 5 people, including myself, and out of 21 people, that's a lot of the workforce that is family, and we do a lot to embrace that the culture is. We are a family company. We want to put out there that we're a family company, but that also means that everyone that works here is part of the family. So good case in point is that if someone is negative to one of my employees, I am the dad to them for them, whether they want it or not. If that makes sense. Sorry, I rambled on there a little bit.
No, that does make sense. And you hit on our behavior profiles too. One thing that I always look for when you send me someone as a potential candidate for a position in your company, I look for a high traditional motivator, because like you said, you guys are a family company. And so someone that shares that same motivator is going to fit in really well, is going to want to be a part of that tradition, of part of that family business. And so I love that you hit on that. That's so true.
So have you come across anyone that's higher than Luke or I? Because I'm at 97 and he's at 90. I'm sorry, I'm 87 and I think he's 93.
Yeah, no one's stronger than him. But that it really is. It's so important, on those behavior profiles to know, am I having the right fit for my company that's going to share this vision and want to be part of it, to belong to something that is a bigger purpose that is going to withstand the test of time. And so, yeah, I think it's really important. It's just something that I always look for you guys.
Well, thank you for
really
doing
important.
that.
Yeah, you're
I
welcome.
appreciate that.
I mean, let's tie back to the business just for a minute here, because again, you've been in business a long time. You've had a lot of good processes. What's different in the business today because of the mindset work you've done? I mean, how last year's sales, and one of the wins is you're not involved in sales and you're having record sales, right?
Yep. The biggest difference in, I'll circle back around the mindset. I think hopefully through through my answer is, just that this will work. So I'm a better leader. I'm a better person, right? So I actually should have said that reverse. I should have said I'm a better person, and then therefore that made me a better leader. And then I know the numbers, right? That came from inner blueprint. Me actually knowing the numbers and honestly being held accountable to the numbers. That made us a better company because therefore, as me being a better leader, I can make better decisions that affect the company because here we go, full circle. I'm working on the company instead of in the company. So yeah, just that was teed up very nicely.
That was a beautiful answer.
Thank you.
It's like scripted almost. That was great.
Yeah. So basically, what's ahead for Kevin and for Stan's Roofing? What do you see in the future?
Yeah, because this is just the beginning. Like your
Yeah.
best years are ahead of you.
So, we're on target to double again this year from last year. So we've doubled
Hell yeah.
and we've doubled, and so we plan on doubling again. And once again, to everyone watching and business people, please, just because I double means nothing as long as if this number down here is not good. So I would rather not double than to give up net or profit, because you can't have a healthy company if you are running on a low net. And to be honest, before Inner Blueprint, I was a probably typical contractor. I don't know the number, but I was negative 2% net to hopefully 2% net positive every year forever.
Wow.
Forever. So the future of Sands Roofing and Siding, be honest, my game plan is 2 years. I'm coming in for monthly meetings, possibly visionary EOS meetings. And then, like I said, I'm working on Infinite Bomb Inc. That being said, it is my father's namesake. It's not going anywhere. We go a whole another podcast on private equities. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying mine is a traditional family forecast for my companies. And the first company is Stan's Roofing and Siding. And, I'll lay it out there for everyone to see. I'm going to say, 2 years, let's be doing 20 million.
Hell yeah. Well, you've got a new set point too. Since starting Inner Blueprint, you said we've doubled. Like you were stuck here forever, and then you've doubled and you've doubled. Doubling is now your new set point. Like that's the baseline. Like that, what used to be your ceiling is now your floor.
That's awesome, because I always said I don't have a limit. I don't have a ceiling now, but no, my set point is doubling. I like it.
It is. I mean, as you were saying, I'm like, that's clear as day to me. That's your new set point. And you've made what was your ceiling? You've made it your floor. Now, like that is like the bare minimum of what you will accept, of what you will do, of what you will accomplish. And so it's crazy what the power of mindset does, because for how many years did you just stay here? How many was it again?
At least 8.
8 years of just here, and you were working harder on your business or in your business than you are now. Yes.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Do you ever get imposter syndrome and feel like, who am I?
So remember my first I am humble.
Yes.
I don't get imposter syndrome.
Okay. I like that.
You stay humble and grounded, and you know you deserve it, right?
Well, I stay humble because, as an old expression is, I'm pretty cocky. So no, I gotta be humble.
And celebrate your wins, right? We're not downplaying those.
Yeah. And honestly, even in my new refound faith is, I have to read a room and I have to be humble because, I you don't, the worst thing in the world is you don't want to buzzsaw a Bible study with, because because you can take over a room or lead a room. You got to let other people lead the room. You got to let other people feel the room and, and express themselves, right? It's not all about being a leader all the time, of course.
Love it.
Definitely.
Love it.
Yes, so good.
Well, as we kind of wrap up this episode, Kevin, anything else you want to share with listeners as far as mindset, keys to your success so far?
Takeaways.
You have to look into and always be growing in your mindset and opening up your mind. 100%. Whatever that is, whoever that is with, please, if someone is watching this that's not in their blueprint, or when someone's watching this not in their blueprint, please start with a grateful day. Like Sean said, Sean has a great video, a brand new day, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And if you think you know it all, of course you don't. And just take 5 minutes and watch a Grateful Day. Just please. Honestly, that movie, that video, Sean, since the first time you showed that to me in Orlando, yes, it was Orlando. That video has changed my life.
I love that.
Same.
I love that. And listeners, it's a 5-minute video. So in 5 minutes a day
Yeah.
of listening to some gratitude, you can change your life.
Yep.
Well, Kev, thanks for being on the podcast. Thanks for sharing.
Oh, you're welcome.
Your
This
story,
was awesome.
your mindset. I can't wait to do another one in a few years and see how far you've gone, doubling that mindset every year after
And,
year.
and I'm going to put it out there. I think we're going to do one with you and Debbie. I think we're going to do an episode with you and Debbie. So
I would
I'm just
love
gonna put
it.
out there.
Well,
I would
Me
love
too.
it.
Debbie, if you're listening, you have to decide that. That's all in your corner. None of us are pressing that upon you, but we would
Put it out
love
there.
we would love to have you on as a guest someday. And listeners, thanks for listening. If anything has piqued your interest, if you're not part of Inner Blueprint, reach out to us. If you like this episode, please subscribe and share it with anybody you know that could use some inspiration from Kevin and his story of changing his thoughts and changing his results on the outside. And as always, enjoy the ride. It's a good one. Thanks for listening. Welcome to the Inner Blueprint Podcast. I'm Sean Foyer, the Universal Mindset Disruptor. With over 20 years of turning blueprints into thriving home improvement businesses, I've learned that the strongest foundations start in your mind. Whether you're building a business or your own success, we're here to reshape how you think and face daily life and always remind you to enjoy the ride.